Hello, I'm Nicholas DEE, that's Elemental Emperor if you didn't know. So, I've had a bit of a hiatus. There are reasons for it, some my own fault, others mental health and the like. But today I'm not here to talk about that. Or really ever talk about that. No, today I'm going to talk about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Specifically, an issue caused by an event within the game. The Charizard event, specifically. So, in the Charizard event, there is essentially a thing where Azumarill was a big hitter for you going against this thing. And honestly, I hate that fact. Because the moment that they did that, it set a precedent for what people would use against other Pokemon in the in raid battles. In other words, everyone was using Azumarill. Every team I was fighting with would always use an Azumarill, no matter what Pokemon we were up against. I mean, of course, there were times where there was people using Iron Hands, and there was other times where there was people using other Pokemon, like Sylveon. Couldn't remember its name for a moment then. Now, the main thing that was the problem, specifically with Azumarill, is that there is a Pokemon, a specific one, that I was trying to get to complete my Pokédex. And I ran into it through the raid battle search, taking me about an hour to do about 5 times. 5. I did that 5 times, and I failed each and every one because the rest of my team was either A or multiple Azumarill. Now, what was the problem with that is that this Pokemon was a Dragalga, or whatever you pronounce it as, Skrelp's evolution. It's a poison type. A poison type. And if I remember rightly, poison types don't do quite well against fairy type Pokemon, like Azumarill. So when there was fighting against Dragalga, and it would use one of its poison type moves, it would get absolutely handed to it. Yeah, that's right, it would get absolutely slaughtered in a single hit. Or more or less, because it was a 5-star raid. So, or 6-star raid. I mean, there was one time I'm pretty sure one appeared up in a 6-star raid. I can't remember exactly 100% of that. It's been a couple of days since I did it, and honestly, I've completed the Pokédex now because some nice guy helped me on a Facebook page. Hurrah for Facebook in that regard, I guess. But other than that, it was frustrating. We got so close multiple times. The tiniest amount of health in 2 of them. And the killer for us was the fact that this Azumarill went down in seconds. I mean, one of the times it was a fighting type. I think it was. No flying types. No one was using any fighting types or psychic types. I was using an Espeon. We'd almost killed it. It was like, it's such close amount of health. It was maybe, I don't know, 5% health remaining. And it didn't help at all. It just, this Azumarill that we had on site just kept dying every turn. And the timer went down and down and down. And it was so frustrating. Sure, Azumarill is good when they're weak against fairy types and even water types, I guess. But most commonly, I think it's when they're strong against, when you're weak against fairies. Don't use Azumarill for every single thing. Iron Hands is okay in some cases because it seemingly works better. But Azumarill is not the perfect Pokemon. It sure as hell's not. I mean, it's so frustrating. I mean, there was an Iron Hands in one of them that it survived multiple hits. I don't know what attack was being used against it, but it was doing better than the Azumarills were. They were just dying so quickly. I mean, it was worse for the one when we had two Azumarill. This was one of the ones when we were against a... I think it was a rock type, Tera type one. Possibly. Could have been the grass one, actually. And actually, I think it was the grass one because I was using my Charizard. Hilariously, from the event which made Azumarill the big hitter, I used the Dachshund, or whatever it's called. Yeah, way better. Anytime it was that fire type move, well baked, really good. Doesn't take any damage, gains defense up. Honestly, I wish more people used that one instead of Azumarill because, oh my god, like, seriously. Although the only issue is with special defense, I had to put the red vest item, whatever it's called, onto my Pokemon to increase its special defense, which actually worked quite well because it didn't die as quickly to the hurricanes, which annoyingly, even though they had 70% chance of hitting me, used it in succession really easily. Every time. It was very, very annoying. But what annoyed me so much, though, is the fact that Azumarill is just seemingly this Pokemon that is everyone's go-to in a lot of cases. And it's probably not the people who, you know, actually understand the game. It's the people that don't and have just been told, oh, use Azumarill, it's bloody brilliant. And they're like, okay, I've made an Azumarill, I've optimized it, I've done this, okay, it's good. And then they use it, and they use it for everything. And it's like, oh, well, I failed this time, oh, it must have just been a bad thing, and that must everyone else that sucks. And then they want that stupid mentality where it is everyone else's problem, even though the Azumarill is just dying immediately from a poison-based attack. I mean, I don't understand why people don't set up the team that they've got for the Pokemon itself and not just the Tera type. I mean, sure, if it was one that had a Dark type, then Iron Hands would have been the appropriate one to use, not Azumarill. Even though Azumarill would have been good against it, it still wouldn't have been because Dragalga, or whatever it's called, is still a poison type. One of its moves, and then its moveset, is a poison type move. It's going to kill you. You need to use a Pokemon. If they'd used Tink's evolution, you know, the big one with the massive hammer, that would have been fine. It's a steel type. It would have had an advantage because steel isn't affected by poison. I don't understand why people are so amazed by Azumarill. Azumarill, I have never liked that Pokemon. I have never liked it since it appeared in Orange Islands with Tracy. I have never liked the Pokemon itself. It just looks so stupid. It's just this round mouse that's with a funky looking tail. And even when it evolves, it's just, I don't understand it. Is it supposed to be some kind of rabbit? Like balloon or something like that? It doesn't make sense. I never liked its design, I never liked it as a Pokemon either, and I never really liked the fairy types anyway. The only time I've actually started liking fairy types is hilariously with the Dachshund, or whatever it's called, and that. Just because that well-baked ability is really, really good. It's infuriating though. People, when they play Pokemon and that, especially now with the with the newer games and how they work with the raid battles, fight for both the typing of the Pokemon and so you could deal with its moveset that it will possibly have. That could be a weak to something like that, because sure, it's like having something like that. I mean, like having a Tera type like Dark, one of its weaknesses being Fairy, but as it is originally of Poison type, it is strong against Fairy types. So if you're going to use a Fairy Pokemon, sure, it's going to work great against the Tera type, but only as long as it survives that first attack. But these AI are literally based on attacking with the super effective attack, if it has one, that will work best. It chooses it. It knows which is the AI knows which is the right move to use against those Pokemon in most cases. That's why, I've noticed it multiple times. It definitely knows what moves to use. So if you're using a fairy Pokemon and hoping that it won't first hit you with a poison move, you're out of luck. It is going to take out your Azumarill. Stop using Azumarill for everything. Think about the Pokemon that there is. You have 2 minutes. It does not take 2 minutes to quickly search it up and look at either Bulbapedia or bloody Cerebi and finding out the weaknesses of that Pokemon and using a Pokemon that works against it. And it'll take you about a minute at best. It is not that hard. I don't understand why people don't look at Pokemon and saying, oh, what typing was this? I should plan around this depending on whatever its Tera typing is so that I could counter, so I could do super effective in that, but counter any possible moves that it's got that could be super effective against my Pokemon. Because these people who were using Azumarills against the Dragalga, or it's called Sprout's Evolution, did not, and it is infuriating. It was infuriating all 5 times. And then that other event popped up with the Delibirds, and that just made it even harder. But thankfully, I didn't have to keep doing the goddamn things, and it was just so annoying. Azumarill is okay for the for Tera battles, for Tera raid battles. It is okay. It is okay, but it is not the best choice. I would use either Iron Hands, unless, of course, it is something that is super effective against a fighting electric Pokemon, or use something, that's specific. Think about it. Don't just go for the whole annoying thing of, oh, it's a Tera battle, I'm just going to immediately use the one Pokemon that everyone else is using, Azumarill, because it doesn't work. It honestly does not work. I mean, seriously, if those raid battles had just been all people using Iron Hands, I possibly would have defeated all 5 of those Dragalgas, or whatever they're called. I would not have been having this mess of infuriation coming from watching the Azumarill die after every single turn. I mean, it goes from 5 seconds to 10 seconds to 15 seconds and onwards every time you die. You are not helping anyone when you're using the incorrect Pokemon in a raid battle. You still have to focus on the Pokemon itself. Anyway, that's my infuriation on that, done and dusted. Literally my only problem with the raid battles is that the hype for it became that Azumarill was the best Pokemon, and people got the wrong idea after that Azumarill after the Charizard raid was just the best Pokemon to use in a Tera raid battle. It is not. If you are fighting against a poison type, do not use Azumarill or Dachshund or whatever. I mean, come on, the fairies. Don't use fairy Pokemon against poison types. It is very specific. Anyone could have figured that out. Really could have. And honestly, it ruins the game. If you just do your research. It's not that hard. It is a Pokemon game. They are they're so easy and simplistic. That is why they have such a low thing about it, and that's one of the reasons why I enjoy it at the same point. It's an easy, simple game that I can play. The only difficulty comes when it's these extra challenges, like finding the stakes or completing the Pokédex. And for most people, it should just be doing the main storyline. And they're doing the extras and that. The extras help. The Tera battles do help in the story because it allows you to get the EXP things, which do allow you to quick level your Pokemon, which then do allow you to have an advantage against the gym leader that you're fighting against by both level and also typing, unless you are doing a type-specific challenge like I did in my Scarlet, where I'm using insect Pokemon, because I thought that'd be fun. I have completed the main storyline on it. Almost. No, I have completed the entire storyline now, yeah. And that was quite fun. And hilarious. So I completed that with an insect type load on that. I might do a video about that, actually, because I can't remember exactly what I did, but I definitely only used insect Pokemon once I caught my first insect Pokemon, which was the little spider thing, I believe. But yeah, that's, I'm gonna say, let's call it for this video, I'd say. I've said my piece about Azumarill not being the perfect raid battle Pokemon, and I really wish that people would be a little bit more, you know, intelligent when it comes to using Pokemon in a raid battle, because I lost out when I could have easily have done it myself, you know. I mean, I have Scarlet and that. I have to wait until January. I could have just waited till January when Pokemon Home, connected to Scarlet and Violet, but, you know, I wanted to do it beforehand, and I just, people didn't help. So, yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and, well, as I say, I'm Nicholas DEE, that's Elemental Emperor if you didn't know, signing out.